He told me I was his soulmate, but I had no idea what that meant. Later, I found out that in order to escape this so-called soulmate, he actually did things that hurt me, and I, without realizing it, fell deeply in love with him. Chapter 28. Whenever I caught Ashton's eye for the rest of the day, I was rewarded with a breathtaking smile and a playful wink. My shy nature made it difficult to reciprocate fully, but I managed a small smile in return. The tense atmosphere from this morning seemed to have dissipated, replaced by a calm contentment. By the time gym class rolled around, the entire school was buzzing with rumors about who pulled the fire alarm. Ashton's name came up more frequently than others, and the general consensus seemed to be that he was the most likely culprit. As the new student, I found myself conflicted about this information. If Ashton had indeed pulled the alarm, was it solely to talk to me? The thought sent a thrill through me, but it also left me confused about our conversation in the classroom. Pushing these thoughts aside, I finished changing into my gym clothes and exited the locker room. I spotted Catherine sitting on the bleachers, deep in conversation with another student. As I approached, I overheard her saying, "No, it would make sense. No one saw Ashton at the fire drill. He pulled it." I couldn't help but smile, knowing she was right, but I quickly masked my expression to avoid suspicion. "Evie, what's your take on who pulled the fire drill?" Catherine asked, turning her attention to me. I feigned contemplation for a moment. "I don't know. Remember, I'm new. I don't know anyone. You've been here long enough." Catherine dismissed my protest with a wave of her hand, pretending to consider again. I replied, Well, I guess I could see Ashton pulling it. But why would he? I don't know. A fling in the janitor's closet. Catherine laughed at her own joke. I winced inwardly, a sudden pang of jealousy coursing through me at the thought of Ashton with another girl. This unexpected emotion confused me further. Why should I care? It was like this was new information. Ashton's reputation for being a flirt was well known, even to me as a newcomer. Another wave of discomfort washed over me, and this time I cowled and kept the wince off my face. "Evie, you okay?" Catherine asked, concern evident in her expression. "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I be?" I quickly composed myself and forced a smile. "No reason," Catherine said warily, still eyeing me suspiciously. I broadened my smile, trying to appear nonchalant. "I'm just thinking about things. Nothing serious. Just school stuff." "Okay," Catherine drawled. Clearly unconvinced, Mr. Guy's authoritative voice rang out, signaling the start of class. He announced that we'd be working on passes and shooting, instructing us to pair off. Catherine immediately grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the soccer balls. As she did so, I caught Ashton's eye across the gym. He made a gesture between us, silently asking if we could be partners. I shrugged apologetically and pointed to Catherine. For the rest of the hour, Catherine and I worked on our passing and goal shooting, though we spent more time talking than playing soccer. Several times, I felt someone's gaze on me, but I tried to brush it off. Occasionally, it'd catch Ashton looking in my direction, and each time, HED flashed that charming smile of his, leaving me both flustered and intrigued. "Oh, hi, Ashton." I almost run into him as I exit the girls' changing room. HES leaning against the wall about a foot away from the door, looking like HES waiting for something. Or someone. "Hi, Evie." He falls into step beside me as I start walking to the front of the school. "Were you waiting for me?" I ask, almost hoping he says no, but I already know the answer. He smiles. "Of course." "Why?" I ask immediately. HES never done this before. "I was wondering if you needed a ride home." Ashton says quickly. He looks away from me when I try to make eye contact. I smile at his small embarrassment. "Don't you have your friend to drive home?" I remind him of what he told me the night of our date. He gives an unsettled laugh and scratches the back of his head. "About that." Ashton trails off. "What?" I ask suspiciously, though I'm pretty sure I already know the answer. I don't actually know anyone who lives there, Ashton says quickly. I raise my eyebrow. Then why are you always there in the morning? Ashton opens his mouth to talk, but I interrupt him with another question. And why did you lie to me on our date? Ashton opens and closes his mouth like a fish, probably trying to come up with something that won't make him look like an obsessed stalker. It's okay, Ashton, I say as I pat him on the shoulder, and Ashton looks confused. I already know you're an obsessed stalker. The confusion disappears and he smiles at me. Am I supposed to be offended? Shouldn't I be asking you that? I retort playfully. I guess so. But then I would say no. You're supposed to be happy that I'm your stalker, Ashton says with confidence. I laugh. Really? Are you my protector or something? Yes. Ashton growls playfully. Something occurs to me. You know, the suction. You can be quite nice when you're not being such a jackass. While Ashton fakes getting a blow to the stomach. That's offensive, but it's true, I say with conviction. A half smile forms on his face, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Ashton doesn't respond, but he does look at me. Silence settles over us, and I don't know what to say to get rid of it. Can I drive you home? Ashton asks as we near the front of the school. Sorry, I already have a ride. I smile at his look of disappointment. There's a couple seconds of silence before Ashton talks again. Tomorrow morning, Ashton shoots back. I tilt my head. My mom would probably be ecstatic to see her face when Ashton picks me up tomorrow. Sure. Good. And I guess you know what time I normally leave my house, I say, looking at him pointedly. You never did answer my question, by the way. Ashton scratches the back of his head. An action I'm assuming he does when he's nervous. But he answers anyway. Yeah. About that. He stopped stalking. About that. I trail off, hoping to egg him into continuing his sentence. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. He responds quickly. Okay from what? I probe a little bit. Just. He stumbles over his words. Just okay. From anything. Everything. Okay. I say slowly, not knowing how else to respond. We reach the front of the school and I spot my mom. Luckily, she's not looking this way or she might catch me with Ashton. I look back at Ashton and see that he is looking back at me. The world seems to move around us as we are stuck looking into each other's eyes. Tomorrow morning then, I say softly. Ashton smiles. Tomorrow morning. He leans towards me and kisses my forehead softly. My breath hitches and I find myself wanting more. He leans back and smiles once more before turning to go. I watch him walk for a couple seconds before I turn around and walk to my car. How was your day? Mom asks as soon as I open the door, thinking all the way back to the fire drill and then to just now. I respond in the simplest way I can. It was surprisingly nice. That's good. Mom responds obstinately. Oh, I exclaim. Before I forget. I won't need a ride tomorrow morning. A friend is picking me up. Chapter 29. Rushing downstairs. I quickly grab an apple out of the fridge and slip on my shoes. From an upstairs window, I saw that Ashton is already here and waiting in the driveway. Not wanting to be rude and make him wait for a long time, I rush out of the already open garage. I walk calmly to Ashton's car and hop in. Good morning, I say when I close the door. Good morning to you too. Ashton responds and he starts driving. The comfortable silence settles over us. It allows me time to think about bringing up an uncomfortable topic. I bite the inside of my cheek as I mull over my options. I want to explain, but am worried of what it could do. To me, it's a concern that could affect us and I don't want it to hang over us and whatever happens between us. My mind goes back and forth, debating to bring it up. Hey Ashton, what's up? I wanted to tell you. Well, explain to you that. I become tongue-tied as I try to explain that I just want to forget about that kiss. I just want to put it fully in the past and forget about it. Oh, Ashton looks shocked that I brought it up. Of course. I mean, if that's what you want, I'm fine with putting it in the past. Okay. Relief washes through me. And thank you. I overreacted about it. Well, I mean a little bit. You didn't deserve that slap. And I'm sorry for that. But I do have boundaries. I start becoming tongue-tied again. Never mind. We're not together enough to be talking about boundaries. Ashton smiles, but almost looks disappointed. I should be the one apologizing. I shouldn't have done that. Gone that far. I smile. I think it would be best to keep that in the past then. Agreed. The rest of the day passed with a content feeling that seemed to surround everyone. Ashton was in the best mood I had ever seen him, and it seemed to affect everyone around him, including me. I never seemed to see him without a smile, and every time I did see him, my stomach seemed to do a flip. The mood never seemed to diminish as the week went on. Ashton continued to surprise me, and he would usually have a gift of some sort in the morning for me. Usually it was some type of flower such as a tulip or daisy, but mainly it would be a rose. I had finally told him that my favorite flower are roses. Everyone at school seemed to be in a better mood, especially Josh. I had tried asking him about his sudden mood change, but he would usually answer vaguely. I had gained more friends in that week than I had ever in my first month at school. Students were the nicest they've ever been, including that girl who called me a bitch on the first day. The week passed quickly with everyone in a good mood. On Friday, instead of driving me home, Ashton drove me to his house. I had already told my parents about the detour, and they had told me to be safe. Ashton and I spent the time watching The Avengers, at the request of me, in the living room. We didn't really spend the time watching the movie and instead talked about the things we never got to talk about on our date. Ashton answered any and every question I had, even the kind of silly ones. He returned the favor by asking me a ton of questions. Eventually, I somehow ended up sitting on Ashton's lap with my head against his chest and him stroking my hair. We stopped talking and decided to sit comfortably with the movie playing in the background. I found myself suddenly feeling very content and calm, and found it hard to keep my eyes open. I decided to close my eyes just for a moment. I wake up with the feeling that I'm being swayed. Cracking my eyes open, the first thing I see is Ashton's shoulder and neck. Glancing around, I see him curled up in Ashton's arms while he carries somewhere bridal style. You don't have to carry me. I mumble, actually hoping that he doesn't put me down. You were asleep. He responds quietly. You could have woken me up. I respond, trying to stay awake so I can continue talking to him. Maybe I wanted to carry you. I hear the smile in his quiet voice. Why would you want to carry me? I ask, but I never hear his answer. My eyes fall close and I fall back asleep. I wake up again and feel the softness of my mattress beneath me. Looking around, I almost expect Ashton to be here somewhere. Before I realize that this is my room and I would probably scream bloody murder if he was in here. Spotting my phone, which I swear was in my back pocket, I grab it to check the time and see if I have any messages. Looking down at my arm, I realize I'm no longer wearing my clothes from yesterday. My heart stutters as the idea of Ashton undressing me flashes through my brain. The phone buzzes in my hand, shocking me out of my worries, and I look down to see a number I don't know saying good morning. Before I can decide not to respond back because I don't know the number, a number buzzes again and puts a name to the number. It's Ashton. Deciding to get my worries out of the way, I quickly text him back, ask if he undressed me. I didn't really expect that he undressed me. My parents were the most likely bet, but I needed to calm my mind. Ashton responds quickly and assures me that he did not undress me. He gives me a play-by-play of what happened when I fell asleep, which included our little conversation, and the fact that he met my parents when he carried a sleeping me to my room. Ashton was happy to inform me that my parents had taken a liking to him. I playfully warn him that I could tell my parents about when we first met. It didn't seem to come out as playfully through the text because Ashton calls me about a minute after I sent the text message. Hello, I say into the phone. Evie, I understand that you want to tell your parents, but please don't tell them yet. I mean, just let me be there when you do. Please. Ashton's worried voice comes through the phone. Ashton, I say softly. Calm down. I was going to mention it then. At least not yet. We might not even work out. There's a pause. Yeah, maybe not. Ashton's voice sounds strained. That doesn't mean I don't want to try being together. I assure him quickly, and as an afterthought I add, again, you do. Ashton's voice immediately turns hopeful. I laugh. Well, why do you think I came over to your house? Friends. Ashton sounds unsure again. My voice turns quieter. I think we both know that we don't want to be friends. Another pause, another pause. Go on a date with me. Another one. You mean? I laugh. Ashton chuckles. Yes, I mean another one. When and where? I ask. The same place we went on our first date. Ashton sounds excited. I smile. Okay. When? Tonight. Okay. Tonight. What time? Is 6 okay with you? Yeah. Hey, how did you get my number? Ashton laughs. I kind of took it from you while you were napping. So you searched through my phone while I was sleeping. I was teasing him and he knew it, yep. I saw those texts about how you find me incredibly hot and how there's no other guy for you and how you want to go out with me. He teases me back. I never said any of that. I exclaim. You were thinking it. Ashton counters. You can't read my mind. I accuse. So you admit you were thinking it. Ashton laughs. No, I didn't. I didn't admit anything. I retort through my own laughter. Keep telling yourself that, sweetheart. He says as his laughter dies down. My stomach flips at his betrayal for me. So, 6 tonight. I'll see you at 6. Sweetheart. I can hear Ashton's smirk through the phone. Get that smirk off your face. Playboy. I come up with my own betrayal. Ashton's deep laugh fills my ear. Playboy. I scoff. Yes, really. All right, sweetheart. We'll talk about that later. I'll see you at 6. Ashton chuckles. See you. I respond and end our call. A sigh leaves my mouth. What is happening to me? Chapter 30. Ashton made sure that this date made up for the last one. He was the epitome of a gentleman, even asking me if he could kiss me. I would always say yes and even told him that he didn't have to ask me, but he did anyway. I could tell he was trying to make up for the bad ending of our last date. We had become a couple, and it seemed that everyone knew that. Everyone at school would talk about us as a couple. Even my parents had noticed. They had requested to have dinner with Ashton. The doorbell rings and my stomach does a flip at the thought of the person standing on the other side of the door. I walk quickly to the door, make sure I still look presentable, and open the door. Ashton stands there in a deep blue polo and khakis. The dark blue shirt makes his eyes shine out brighter, and I watch his eyes trail over me as I just did to him. The smile on his face mirrors mine. Hi, sweetheart. Ashton says, his voice an octave lower than it normally is. I clear my throat. Hi. He steps inside and reveals what was behind his back, which is funny because I didn't realize he was hiding something behind his back. A bouquet of red roses appears and I gasp. These are so pretty. I exclaim as I lean towards them. I've always loved the smell of roses. Ashton smiles. Not as pretty as what I am looking at. I look up and see that he is staring at me. I feel a blush crawl up my cheeks. He leans down to give me a quick peck on the lips, but is stopped by my father's voice. Minimum of 3 feet apart, please. I turn around and see my father staring at us with a smile on his face. He gives me a wink and turns back towards the kitchen to help my mom finish. I glance at Ashton and see him smirking. Before I can ask what he is thinking, he quickly leans down and pecks me on the lips. I can't help but smile, but then have to hold in a chuckle when Ashton winks and puts a finger to his lips. Our secret, he whispers. I put my hand over my mouth to make sure my laughter isn't heard by my parents. Ashton hands me the roses and I start walking to the dining room. I hear the door close behind me and then I feel Ashton's presence behind me. Hello, Ashton. Oh my goodness, those are pretty. Evangeline, go get a vase so they don't dry out. My mom takes a second out of her rushing around to smell the roses. She then shoos me towards the farthest cabinet where we keep the vases. Opening the cabinet, I see that someone decided to put all the vases on the top shelf. I brace my hands on the counter to jump up in order to reach them. Here, let me. Ashton says from behind me. One of his arms goes around my waist as the other reaches up and grabs a vase. He sets it down in front of me but doesn't move. I'll lean into his chest as other arm goes around my waist. Stupid, tall person, I say quietly, hoping Ashton does hear me. He laughs at my insult. Someone clears their throat behind us and we turn to see my dad shaking his head. 3 feet. I thought I made that clear. His face looks serious, but I can see it in his eyes. I feel Ashton's arms fall away and his body heat disappears as he takes a step away from me. I sigh and glare at my dad. He carried me in when I was sleeping. We were closer than 3 feet then. I continue to glare at him. Dad shrugs. Then this is the official meet, the parents. There is going to be a minimum distance between you two. You're irridiculous. I mutter at him and make a big show of grabbing Ashton's hand. I start walking towards the sink with the vase, and Ashton railing behind me to get water for the roses, filling the vase up with water. I feel Ashton's arms around my waist. You know, I remind him, this isn't 3 feet. You know. He responds in a whisper. Your dad isn't looking. I have to hold in my laugh again. With the vase filled and the roses nicely arranged, Ashton follows me as I walk to the table and place the roses in the middle. I walk around the table and seat myself, to which Ashton follows my example and sits next to me. As soon as we sit down, both my parents start placing food on the table. They had created a feast with ravioli, salad, breadsticks, mashed potatoes, and gravy. I inwardly groaned at their obsession for a big meal. Glancing at Ashton, I watch him as he scans the food in front of him. By the look in his eye, I have a feeling that we made just enough food. My parents sit down across from us, with my dad sitting across from Ashton. Before it gets any more awkward, I quickly start serving myself and, slowly, everyone follows my example. With every honest plate full of food, my dad starts the conversation. So Ashton, how did you meet Evangeline? At school. Dad, where else? I hiss at him through my embarrassment. Glancing at Ashton, I watch as he raises his eyebrow. Now Evangeline. I was asking Ashton. Dad scolds me, but I can tell HES not serious. He turns back to Ashton and gestures for him to talk, with a side smile in my direction. Ashton answers his question, like Evie said. I met her the first day of school. We have a couple classes together. Which classes? Mom butts in. Us, history and gym. First and last classes. Ashton responds. Dad looks at me before asking his next question. So how come only now have you guys started hanging out together? Ashton also looks at me before answering, and his hand reaches underneath the table and grabs mine. Truthfully, Evie and I had a rough relationship at the beginning. I was the right kind of guy for her and I messed up. Truly messed up. And I will be forever in her debt because of that. So you mean to say, Dad interrupts Ashton's mini-speech, that you treated my little girl wrong. Disappointment is evident in his voice. Ashton winces and turns to look at me while he squeezes my hand. Yes, sir. I did not treat her the way she deserves, and I will regret it until the day I die. Dad sighs. Well, I guess that's it. He stands up. It was nice to meet you, Ashton. Evangeline, I need to talk to you alone. My mouth falls open at my dad's blatant rudeness. Dad, what the heck? Dinner just started. No, I understand, Evie. Ashton's voice sounds defeated. He stands up to leave, but I grab his arm and pull him back in his chair. Sit down, Ashton. You're not going anywhere until this dinner is over. I direct this at Ashton, but then look at my dad. You need to hear the whole story. I was the nicest to him either. We both had our troubles. With a resigned sigh, Dad sits back down. Please explain, Evangeline. Ashton's gaze bores into mine, and I take that as my confidence. We didn't get off on a good foot. For some reason, I didn't like him at all. I thought he was rude, arrogant, and just plain mean. Before I even had a decent conversation with him, I had already judged him as one of those playboys. I look back at Ashton at the end of my spiel and see his gaze. Respect and dock over his features as he once again scans over my face, taking my hand, again under the table. He gives it another squeeze. Ashton meets my eyes again, and I can see nothing but happiness and all shining in them. Our stare is broken by my father's sigh. Well, darling, do you have anything to say? He directs the question at my so far silent mother. I glance at her and see that she has been listening and waiting for the opportune moment to share her views. Ashton, what do you see in my daughter, now? She asks, her voice not betraying what she is thinking. She is the most wonderful girl I have ever known. Whenever she smiles, she lights up the room. Her spirit is bright and strong. She stands behind the things and people she loves. I am the luckiest guy on the world to call her mine. Honesty shines from Ashton's voice, and I can't help but look at him in awe. I've never heard him say anything like that to anyone, let alone me. I feel a smile stretch across my face, and soon Ashton's smile mirrors mine. And what if we, meaning her dad and me, told you that we would allow you both to be together? My mom's question breaks the trance between us. Ashton turns to her. I would respect your decision but ask you to reconsider. I want to make it up to her, in every possible way I can. She deserves that and much more. The sincerity in his voice shocks me. Do you respect boundaries? Mom continues her interrogation. Mom. I hiss as a blush crawls up my neck and cheeks. I glance over to Ashton and try to control my embarrassment at her question. It's a logical question, Evangeline. Mom reasons, but she doesn't take her eyes off Ashton. Ashton's hand gives mine another squeeze. Not in the past. I had pushed Evie past her boundaries on our first date. He laughs, probably remembering it. But don't worry. She definitely made it be known that I went past her boundaries. How? My dad looks at me, curiosity showing on his features. I blush and glance at Ashton. Ashton looks at me and laughs again. Go ahead. Tell them. It is quite funny. I blush again. I kind of slapped him. Both my dad and mom start laughing, and dad tries to talk during his laughter. That's my daughter. Their laughter quiets down a couple seconds later, and serious expressions immediately return on both their faces. It's almost comical how fast their expressions change from joyous to serious. And now, my mom asks, now Evie is all I care about. She is in complete control of this relationship, and I will follow her every wish. Ashton says calmly, honesty shining out of his voice. I openly gape at him. Part of me thinks that I only wanted to hear that, while the other part is absolutely overjoyed at hearing what Ashton said. Luckily, Ashton is still looking at my parents and has to notice my shock at his words. Close your mouth. Evie, you don't want to catch flies. Ashton says teasingly before turning towards me. He winks at me and I immediately close my mouth and try to hide my blush. Well, a section by Drake Mason. My mom starts. I think I am done with my questioning. Dear, what do you think about this young man? She looks at my dad. He doesn't respond for a moment and instead looks at Ashton. I watch as my dad silently assesses Ashton before saying anything. I have to give credit to Ashton because he calmly watches my dad as this is going on. Nerves rack my body with the long time my parents are taking to say anything. I want them to approve of Ashton, but I can't help thinking that even if they don't, I would still be in a relationship with him. My dad nods. Ashton, we cannot look over what happened in the past. At least not yet. I want your word that it will not happen again. You have my word. Sir Ashton says to my dad, but he turns his head and looks at me. I really like your daughter and intend to make everything up to her in every way I can. After Ashton's declaration, dinner continued with a much more lighter tone. We had gotten on the topic of favorite and least favorite movies. The time seemed to move much faster with the lighter topic, and soon it was time for Ashton to leave. My mom had convinced my dad to go upstairs to give Ashton and I a moment to ourselves. Finally by ourselves. I let out a deep breath. I think that went well. Ashton gives a short chuckle. Well, I'm still alive, aren't I? Though I suppose that's only due to you. Your dad was ready to kick me out of the neighborhood. I smile. He wouldn't have kicked you out of the neighborhood. Maybe just ban you from coming back to my house. He cups my cheek and I am met with deep blue eyes. And even that wouldn't be able to keep me away from you. Ashton, I say in a whisper. My dad did bring up a good point. Why now? He sighs, and before responding, he gives me a small kiss. I want to wait to have this conversation. Please, we will have it. I promise. Just not right now. I would prefer to have it at my house. I hesitate, remembering in the past when Josh, and even that doctor, had avoided my questions or had diverted the conversation. It seemed like so many people were keeping things from me. I didn't realize how much that bothered me until now, when I realized that Ashton was also keeping things from me. What are you thinking about, sweetheart? Ashton whispers as his other hand cups my other cheek and he rests his forehead against mine. Why can't you tell me? If it involves me, I should know. I say quietly. Ashton looks regretful. I can't. Not right now. I will. I promise I will. I step away from our embrace. Why can't you tell me right now? What's wrong with right now? I realize I sound a little whine, but it seems to be all I can do to keep the irritation out of my voice. Ashton sighs, but then a smirk covers his face. Before I can say anything, he rushes forward and holds my head as he kisses me. For a moment, I forget about what we were talking about as his lips move against mine. The kiss is short and sweet and Ashton slowly steps back from our embrace. Loser, I mumble, knowing that he was trying to distract me. The fact that it worked irritated me further, but I pushed it out of my mind. Ashton lets out a loud laugh. You make me laugh, sweetheart. I scoff and try to hide my smile. And you irritate me. Playboy. Ashton cuts his laughter off and playfully glares at me. We're going to have to talk about that nickname. Sweetheart. Why? Because it's true. I challenge playfully. He gently grabs me and turns me so my back is against the closed door. His lips descend upon mine and I fall into the kiss once again. It's slow and very romantic. But before I can really get into it, Ashton breaks the kiss and leans his forehead against mine. Not anymore. He whispers, staring into my eyes. There's only you. He kisses me again, this one shorter and a tiny bit more rougher. But I find I enjoy it more than the last one. Only you. Chapter 31. His words echo in my mind for the rest of the night. Part of me is ecstatic that he would say something like that, and wants to believe him wholeheartedly. But the more logical part of my brain reminds me that that doesn't happen. People don't just say things like that, at least without ulterior motive. What motive could Ashton have? The weekend passes with my mind in a whirl. It seems as if it's harder for me to be without Ashton. Usually that results in a long phone call where we talk about random things and occasionally get into arguments about movies. I can't help but feel that I need to be around him all the time, or at least most of the time. Waking up on Monday morning and my head is still full of questions. Ashton's words continue to circle around in my brain, causing havoc and confusions and want. I want them to be true. I want to be his only one. A different car pulls up to the end of my driveway. I look at it curiously. Maybe Ashton has two different cars. Instead, a familiar brown head pops out of the sunroof. Well, are you just going to stand there? Josh asks mockingly with his signature smile. Josh, what are you doing here? I ask him as I walk towards his car. Ashton miss him going to be able to make it to school today. He responds as I open the door. Josh pulls his head back into the car. Why isn't he going to school? I ask. Josh starts the car and starts driving before my seatbelt is on. Josh pauses for a second. He has some decisions that have to be made and thought it would be easier to be made at home. Oh, right, I guess. I say, not really knowing what else to say. Josh spends the rest of the car ride asking me about the parents. I tell him everything he wants to know and am rewarded with laughter after every answer. For some reason, Josh finds the entire thing hysterical. We pull up to the school with Josh still laughing at the fact that my dad almost kicked Ashton out. I roll my eyes at him and get out of the car. Evie, wait up. I hear Josh gasp between laughs, probably making the wrong decision. I pause and wait a couple of seconds for Josh to fall into step with me. Stop laughing. It wasn't even that funny. I reprimand him. Josh laughs again. Trust me, it isn't often Ashton gets bested. It's worth it when he does. Did you videotape it? I scoff at Josh's blatant enthusiasm. No, I didn't videotape it. Too bad. Josh says as his laughter finally dies down. We walk into the school and start heading towards my first class. I notice how many students seem to watch Josh and I through the corner of their eyes. They seem curious and I try to ignore their looks. Josh, however, also notices them and glares back at them. Usually they stop looking at us. At least until we pass. We reach my classroom and I quickly look to my table expecting to see Ashton already there waiting for me like HE's been doing for the past couple weeks. A frown slips on my face as I remember that HE's not going to be here today. Josh seems to sense my frown and gives me a side hug. It'll be fine. You got me, remember. I pretend to not hear the sympathy in his voice. I give him a half smile. Thanks. But I'm fine. Promise. By the look Josh gives me, I know he doesn't believe me. But he waves goodbye anyway. I take my seat and wait for class to start. Hoping this day will go by fast. Every class seemed to drag by. Especially the two that Ashton was supposed to be in. Josh helped out during my classes with him by trying to distract me in any way possible. He got sent to the office during science, which was the highlight of my day. However distracting Josh was throughout the day, I was extremely happy to finally go home. How was your day? Josh asks as he drives me home. Long. How was the office? I ask him teasingly. Josh snorts. I just wanted to see what would have happened if I dropped a cell phone into liquid nitrogen, but I didn't want it to be my phone. So steal the teacher's. I say sarcastically. Exactly. He responds with pride shining through his voice. I still don't understand how you found his phone in the first place. I try not to sound too impressed with the fact that Josh got lucky in finding the phone. Josh laughs. Well, I guess that it would be in the desk. It was only the matter of distracting him long enough to go through the desk drawers and voila. I laugh along with Josh. I'm surprised you didn't get suspended or expelled. No, but my mom's pretty pissed. He scratches the back of his head and I see Josh's cheeks turn a light pink. I laugh at his slight embarrassment. Josh and I banter for a bit more about the day during the short car ride until we reach my house. Josh drives up the driveway as a light sprinkle of rain starts to fall. Bye, Josh. I say when I open the door and start to step out of the car. Don't be surprised if I pick you up again tomorrow. He responds a little hesitantly. A confused expression comes over my face. Is Ashton not coming to school tomorrow either? Josh hesitates again. No, probably not. Disappointment crashes through me, followed quickly by sadness. Do you know why, no? HE's been a little distant lately, but I'm sure HE's fine. Josh responds, though I can hear the doubt in his voice, as if he doesn't even believe what HE's saying. I don't respond. Josh pulls up again Tuesday morning. I don't question it. As he told me yesterday, this probably was going to happen. But I can't help a little sigh coming out of my mouth. What has Ashton been occupied with? The day passes with nothing interesting happening. I can't help but feel sad when once again Ashton isn't here. I start to worry that something bad might have happened to him. Josh, you would tell me if something bad happened to Ashton. Right. I ask a little hesitantly. He doesn't respond for a second. Define something bad. My head shoots up and I look at him fearfully. Josh, has something happened? I try to contain my slight hysteria now. No, of course not. Josh is quick to reassure me. It's just, he's keeping more to himself lately. I told you he has some decisions to make and I think they're taking a toll on him. I don't respond, feeling saddened at this new information. Josh's car pulls up again on Wednesday. I don't say anything as I get into the car and neither does Josh. We ride to school in deafening silence. When we arrive at school, however, neither one of us gets out. I open my mouth to ask him a question, but Josh beats me to it. He's fine. Just stressed. I take my answer and get out of the car. Thursday morning is the same. Same car, same drive, but different response. I don't know. He barricaded himself in his room and isn't answering to anyone. Josh sounds defeated. I know my expression relays my defeat too. He hasn't been answering anything I send him. I say quietly, he hasn't been answering anything. Josh responds, what is he doing? I ask and damn astounded when I realize that I am almost crying. Josh is silent for a moment. But she's making one of the biggest decisions of his life. Josh gets out of the car. Getting into Josh's car on Friday. I can tell there's a change of mood. Josh seems to be a bundle of nerves as he starts driving. Watching the trees pass by, it seems they're moving past faster than normal. Josh, I think you're driving too fast. I say as I look at the speedometer. My assumption is correct when I see we're going about 20 miles above the speed limit. Josh doesn't respond. The school comes into view and passes just as quickly as the trees do. Josh, you missed the school. We're not going to school. He finally responds. Then where are we going? I ask a little concerned. Josh responds by putting his foot down a bit harder. I look at him curiously but decide to drop it. At least for now. We keep driving and after about 10 minutes Josh starts slowing down. I am where we're going because there's only one place I know if that's this far outside of the main town. Ashton's and Josh's house comes into view. Josh pulls into the driveway and quickly gets out of the car. He turns around and gives me a huge smile and gestures for me to come with him. Josh and I walk into the living room and I immediately spot Ashton as he paces in front of the couch. I feel a smile start to form on my face and I can't help to feel relieved when I finally see him. It's been hell not talking to him or seeing him the past week. Evie, a smile breaks out onto Ashton's face when he notices us standing in the doorway. He quickly stops his pacing and walks over to me. His arms wrap around me and he smashes his lips to mine. Immediately I'm lost in the kiss. It seems like HES telling me how much he missed me through the kiss and I'm enjoying every second of it. A throat clears. I love romance as much as the next guy, but not right in front of my face. Give it a break, you guys. Ashton breaks away quickly. Shut up, Josh. He starts kissing me again and I hear Josh sigh. He breaks away again. Ivy missed you. I can see that. I say a little breathy. Somehow, during our mini-make-out, my arms had wrapped around his neck and my hands had delved into his hair while his arms had settled around my waist. Before Ashton could kiss me again, Josh's voice rings out from the sofa. I don't mean to be a cockblock, but Ashton, you did have something to share. A blush immediately flushes my neck and cheeks. I turn away from Ashton's gaze and try to hide my face in his shoulder. My hands move back around until they're laying flat against Ashton's chest. His arms move until they're wrapped around my upper back, hugging me closer to him. They growl all type noise and Ashton's chest and I feel his head turn towards Josh. Watch your mouth, Josh. The command comes out as a growl. I was just trying to get a laugh. I hear Josh complain. Well, it didn't work. I say to him from Ashton's shoulder. Josh starts mumbling to himself in a hushed voice and I can't make out anything he says. Ashton, however, seems to be able to understand and I feel him tense up. Before anything can happen, I quickly ask Ashton a question. What do you have to share, Ashton? I keep my voice at a whisper. Ashton's hands move from hugging me to cupping my face, moving my face from his shoulder. You might want to sit down for this bit of news. Sweetheart, Panic flirts down my spine and apprehension fills the tense atmosphere around Ashton, Josh, and I. A foreboding feeling fills my gut and I suddenly notice small things that slipped by me before. The way Ashton is holding me, as if he's afraid he'll run. The way Josh can't keep still, his leg rapidly moving up and down as if he's nervous or impatient. He leads me to the sofa and we sit down. I notice in the corner of my eye, Josh leans forward. However, Ashton has my utmost attention when he stares into my eyes. Caught in his stare, I see the conflicting emotions that swirl in his blue eyes. He breaks our eye contact when he turns his head slightly to glance at Josh. I have something to tell you, Ashton says softly when he connects our eyes once again. I give him a small smile. I gathered that. Ashton returns my smile, but I can see that it's forced. He sighs. I need you to keep an open mind. Promise me that you will. The foreboding feeling comes back at full force. I promise. I hope he doesn't hear the slight waver in my voice. Ashton does. Ashton, I need you to be sure. Please, Evie. The desperation in his voice is clear. I lean forward to place a quick kiss on his lips. I promise, Ashton. I say quietly with more strength. I don't like hearing the desperation in his voice and find myself wanting to do anything to be rid of it. I'm a werewolf. Chapter 32 Uriah What? Ashton looks over at Joshua again before turning back to me and responding. A werewolf. I stare at him a moment before a laugh bubbles up and comes out of my mouth before I can stop it. I slap a hand over my mouth. You're a werewolf? I ask through my hand. Disbelief clear in my voice. Josh's voice comes from behind me. This is serious, Evie. I turn my head around and see the most serious-looking Josh I've ever seen. My smile slowly forms into a shocked expression. You're serious, yes. Ashton responds while turning my head back towards him. My eyes scan over his face looking for any sign of humor, but I don't find any. That's not possible. They don't exist. Werewolves don't exist. I state. Ashton takes a breath. Evie, you're looking at one. It sounds like he expected this reaction. Ashton, I say softly, werewolves don't exist. They can't exist. His hand goes through his hair, messing it up more than it is. I know it sounds crazy, but you have to believe me. You said you would keep an open mind. I give him a small smile. I know, but like you said, this is crazy. There is no proof of werewolves. They've never existed. A smirk suddenly pulls at Ashton's lips. Would you like proof? Before I can respond, Ashton stands up, bringing me with him, and starts heading towards the kitchen and out the back door. Oh God. I hear Josh mumble from behind me, humor clear in his voice. Once outside, Ashton lets go of my hand and walks a few paces in front of me. He winks at me before reaching for the bottom of his shirt, tugging it off. My eyes immediately go to the perfect example of a male specimen. A longing goes through me and I have to stop myself from taking a step forward. Like the view? Ashton asks mockingly. I look up and see that he's smirking at me, and I have to fight off my own smile. His hands then go to the belt on his pants. What the hell are you doing? I squeak out when he starts taking off his jeans. Ashton glances at me, and dressing. He pulls down his jeans and I turn around, redness covering my cheeks and neck. Josh laughs at my expression. Aren't you going to look away? I ask quietly. Ashton laughs at me, obviously hearing what I said. Josh joins his laughter. Why would I? It's not like I haven't seen it before. I blanch and if possible, my face turns redder. We're werewolves, Evie. Josh says softly. We're used to nudity. Well, definitely not. I exclaim. Josh focuses on something behind me, before I can turn around to see what exactly he's looking at. Cracking sounds fill the air. The cracking is harsh, as if it's bones that are cracking, which I know they are. I flinch as a louder crack sounds and then all of the sounds stop. A whine sounds. Turn around, Evie. Josh says softly. Now looking at me. I slowly turn my feet. and consequently my body, in a 180-degree turn. The wolf has my center attention as soon as it's in my line of sight. It's smaller than the size of a horse, but I know it could easily take down anything that threatened it. The wolf's head easily reaches my shoulder. Its powerful legs stand tense, as does the rest of its body. Its tail swishes back and forth as if it's nervous over something. Its almost black hair shines due to the bright sun. The bright blue eyes remind me of ones I know so well. It doesn't move, probably waiting for me to make the first move. But I don't know if I'm going to make that first move. My body stands still as it assesses the wolf in front of me. Nothing adds up in my head. Ashton is not that wolf, and vice versa. That wolf is not Ashton. I don't know how you did it, but that isn't Ashton. My voice sounds unconvincing even to my ears. What other explanation could there possibly be? But the fact that that thing was a human, and a human that I've grown to like, makes no sense whatsoever. It's bordering on insanity. The wolf takes a step toward me, sensing that I'm not going to make the first move. It takes another, then another, until it's just a few feet away. It makes another whining noise and looks almost disheartened when its ears drop and its tail stops swishing. "It's okay, Evie. He won't hurt you." Josh tries to comfort me. I don't respond. I don't really know how to. "You don't need to be afraid." Josh tries to comfort again. "Ashton won't hurt you." When I don't respond again, I feel Josh hold my elbow and gently push my hand towards the wolf's head. The wolf bows its head down as if it wants me to pet it. My hand, in Josh's control, brushes the fur on top of its head. I'm shocked when I feel how soft and silky it is, and with a little courage, I slowly run my hand across its head from one ear to the other. The fur gets kind of rumpled up, so I smooth it back down. A slight purring sound comes from the wolf's throat and a small smile flashes across my face. The wolf looks back up at me and I see its blue eyes again, never breaking eye contact. The wolf's snout comes near my still slightly outstretched hand. Its nose bumps my fingers and then licks them. Another smile flirts across my face at the tickling feeling of its tongue. The wolf looks happier now. Its ears are perked up and its tail swishes back and forth rapidly. I find myself feeling happier too. "Ashton," I ask the wolf. Its head nods in affirmation. This is the big secret. It's not a question, but the wolf nods its head again. A light feeling comes over me, as if a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. "I see why you couldn't tell me," I tease. Ashton bumps his nose against my hand again. I smile. "H.S. going to change back," Josh says from behind. "What?" How my momentary confusion is gone when the cracking starts again and, before my eyes, the wolf changes back into a very human, very without clothes. "Ashton," before I can do anything, like avert my eyes, Ashton's arms envelop me in a hug. I stand stock still and try to keep my blush in check as without clothes Ashton hugs me. "Ashton," I try to tell him to go put some clothes on, but he cuts me off. "I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you. I know it was hard for you, and it was hard for me too. I didn't know what you were going to do when I showed you. I was scared you might become so afraid that you would leave and never want to see me again, or that you would think him some sort of monster." "Ashton, could you?" Josh's laughter cuts me off this time. "Dude, put on some clothes. You're scaring her now in a completely different way," Josh says through his laughs. Ashton growls at him at the same time I say to Josh, "I'm not scared," and then direct to Ashton. "H.S. not wrong. Put on some clothes." I feel my cheeks heat up more. Ashton takes a step back and looks me in the eye and laughs. "You're so cute when you blush." I scowl at him through my blush. "Put on some clothes. I don't need to see all that." "You sure?" Ashton throws his head back and laughs loudly. I hit him on the shoulder, making sure I'm still making eye contact with him. A flash of blue enters my peripheral vision and a pair of shorts are suddenly in Ashton's outstretched hand. I turn around and see Josh smile at me and mouth your welcome. Ashton sits me on his lap as soon as we get back into the living room. Josh once again resumes his place on the chair. The tension that had filled the air is completely gone, and I can tell everyone, including me, is much more relaxed. I look to Ashton and see that he has a smile stretching across his face. Any specific questions you want to ask? He asks me quietly, probably already knowing that I had a bunch swirling around in my head. I open my mouth to ask the million questions, but the only word that comes out of my mouth is, how? Ashton gives a short laugh. No one knows for sure how. One theory is witchcraft. Back in the days when there was witch trials, one of the witches apparently cursed the group that caught her. Another theory is that our ancestors were cast down from heaven and punished as demons. Ashton laughs at my expression, which is probably a bit horrified. But I think the most widely accepted theory is evolution. Humans evolved one way and we evolved another. So you didn't evolve from apes? I ask, dumbfounded. Ashton and Josh laugh, but Ashton responded, if evolutionists are correct, then yes, we did. But we have an extra gene that normal humans don't have. But woodland doctors notice that you have an extra gene when you go in for check-ups or something. We have people on the inside. Ashton says mysteriously. My eyes open wide. Humans here know you exist. No, Ashton chuckles. Werewolves can be doctors too. I crinkle my nose. That's a weird word. Josh barks out a laugh. What? Werewolves. I nod and that sparks another laugh from Josh. Gosh, shut up. This is new for her. But a smile still slips its way onto Ashton's face. What else are you curious about? I can tell you we have great stamina. Ashton winks. A light blush forms on my cheeks at his suggestion. Shut up. I lightly slap his chest, but then something occurs to me. Alpha? Ashton and Josh look at each other before looking at me curiously. How do you know about alphas? Josh asks me. I look over at him. I heard it a few times from students. And even from you. I think. On one of the first few days I got here. But do you guys really have an alpha? Like real wolf packs? Josh looks at Ashton expectantly and Ashton fidgets a tiny bit, yes. Ashton looks around the room. I can suddenly tell HES a bit nervous. Go on. I can tell he has more to say on the matter. Yes, we do. Josh responds for him. Want to know who? He nods at Ashton. You, I exclaim. Surprise flirts over my features as I look at Ashton. He seems nervous as he looks back at me. Not exactly. Ashton starts explaining. The alpha's son. Josh scoffs. Close enough. Your dad's the alpha. I clarify and Ashton nods. Where is he? On a trip with the Luna. Josh responds, almost irritably. The what? I ask confused. One thing at a time, please. Ashton says, looking at Josh. My dad and mom are in Europe. They're talking with a few other packs on certain issues. There's more of you. I keep interrupting with more questions. Ashton smiles at me. Of course there's more. We're not the only pack out there. How many are there? I'm quick to ask. Ashton thinks for a second. I think there are 4 packs, including this one, in the United States, and probably 6 in Canada. That's a lot. I exclaim. We mostly stay out of each other's way. Back to the matter at hand. Ashton gives me an expression of mock disapproval for interrupting. They're in Europe. They were back for a few days a few weeks ago when they went to Australia. But then they left for Europe. Wow, I say, thinking of all the places Ashton's parents had probably been to. Yeah, wow, Ashton agrees. But anyways, before you get more questions in your head, Aluna is the alpha's mate. Ashton stops and suddenly looks uncomfortable as he looks away from me. What is it? I ask softly. What other questions do you have? Ashton asks calmly. I can tell HES uncomfortable with the subject. Maybe it's something with his parents. Looking around, I know what my next few inquiries. Why do you have such a big house? Ashton cracks a smile. It's the pack house. It's where almost everyone in the pack lives. I look at Josh knowingly, now understanding some of the confusion from the past. Josh returns my smile, but it seems forced. How many people are in this pack? I ask next. About 600. Ashton says matter-of-factly. I feel my jaw drop at that big number. 600. I say quietly in awe. Ashton chuckles. Yeah, 600 total. How many go to our school? I ask, remembering the first few days of school. Something I don't like to dwell upon for long. Quite a lot. I would say 300. Ashton responds. Raimi bring a specific scene from one of my first few days. Were they the ones that were hanging out with you when I first came here? A regretful expression falls across Ashton's face and he grim answers. Yeah, they're in the pack. The brown-haired girl. I ask, quietly. Yes, but I promise it's no more. Ashton starts sounding frantic as he holds my face in between his hands. I promise you that will never happen again. So it will never happen again. I put my hands on his and slowly move them from my face. It's fine, Ashton. They probably didn't like me because I was new. I know there was only so much you could do. Ashton, sadly, I don't deserve you. I don't think I was meant to hear that. But he said it loud enough for my ears to hear. Why would you say that? I ask quietly, forgetting our surroundings. Because I don't. I will never in a million years deserve someone like you. Ashton's expression becomes more determined. But I'll do my damnedest to try. Starting now. A confused expression crosses my face. Ashton? What? He cuts me off. I, Ashton Carter, accept you as my mate. Chapter 33. What? I say in a hushed whisper. I accept you as my mate. Ashton's eyes light up with happiness and he hugs me to his chest. My arms are crushed to his chest, so I can't hug him back, but he doesn't seem to mind. Ashton, I try to say, squished against his chest. What's a mate? What does that mean? He tenses up and lets me go. I'll lean back and see that he is suddenly nervous, maybe even scared. Ashton's eyes dart around, always avoiding mine. He makes eye contact with something behind me and winces. I turn around and see Josh's stern, almost angry expression as he looks at Ashton, then softens as he makes eye contact with me. What? I ask in the sudden silence. Am I missing something? What's a mate? You mentioned it before but didn't explain. Sile unsengulfs us again and my questions go unanswered. Before I can say anything more, Josh speaks up. Go on. Tell her. Josh's accusation cuts through the silence. I gape at him. I've never heard Josh sound like this, except for maybe a couple times close to this, but nothing to this extent. Tell me what. I turn towards Ashton and now I can clearly see he's scared of something. Ashton. Mate is short for soulmate. Ashton starts but his voice wavers. As werewolves were given a soulmate, someone who is destined to be with us forever. In this lifetime at least. These soulmates are destined for each other and they more than likely will find each other in their lifetimes. They're everything a werewolf prizes. The one person they put in front of everyone, everything. Ashton cuts himself off at the hitch in his voice. My heart pounds in my ears and sense of foreboding and apprehension washes through me. Something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. My brain tries to connect something but I push it away, not wanting to admit it. I don't want to think. I don't want to realize. I don't want to admit something is wrong. But the sense of wrongness fills the air. Too big, no ignore. And suddenly my mind is full of memories. The first time we met. My voice trails off as I remember the word Ashton's very first words to me on my first day. My mind lingers on the word mate now, understanding what he meant. Evie, Ashton reaches for me as I get off his lap and take a step away from him. Reject. You said reject. My voice is a harsh whisper. Ashton winces and tries to reach out to me, but I take another step back. He said reject. I repeat. No. Ashton whispers. And then you said mate. The harsh whisper has left my voice. Ashton, explain to your mate. Josh emphasizes mate, and this time it's my turn to wince. Ashton notices my wince and shoots a glare at Josh, but is unable to hold it for long. He looks back at me. Evie, I cut him off. Just explain. I want to know everything. My voice turned hard. It means nothing now, Ashton starts, but I cut him off again. Oh really? My voice catches and I feel the burn of tears behind my eyes. Ashton must notice the almost tears because he stands and tries to reach for me again. I step out of his reach again and his arms drop. He looks defeated and I resist going to him. Tell her, Ashton. Josh says from behind me. Tell me what? I ask him, knowing there's more. I didn't want a mate. Ashton says abruptly after a minute of silence. I didn't want a mate. He repeats quietly. Confusion clouds my brain along with a deep sadness. Why not? I try to keep my voice soft and not accusing. Ashton slumps back down on the couch and puts his head in his hands. I didn't want the responsibility of having someone to look after. I didn't want the urge to protect someone. Something that would have come with a mate. I didn't want the chance of losing someone who meant everything to me. And that would have come with a mate. What better way to do that than to not have a mate? Ashton ends on a sarcastic note. But I can hear the regret. I'm stunned into silence as my brain tries to connect all the missing pieces. Ashton starts talking again before I can respond. When I saw you. Because you see, it's a visual thing. It's the eyes. You immediately know who your mate is when you look into their eyes. I knew who you were the moment we first made eye contact. I couldn't believe it. I had spent years worrying about finding you and you just run into me. Ashton gives a short laugh, but there's nothing humorous about it. Shocked is an understatement. I was so sure I was going to get through high school without finding my mate. So sure. I don't say anything as Ashton's side of the story comes out. His head is still in his hands as he takes a deep breath. I did the only thing I thought was logical. I wanted to push you away. Wanted to keep the mate pull from growing too strong. I open my mouth to ask about the mate pull, but Ashton beats me to it. The mate pull is the pull between mates. It affects both and drives them closer together. You probably had the feeling before. A feeling of wanting to be close. I wanted to stop the pull from developing. So I pushed you away. I still don't date anything as Ashton's story comes out. But the feeling in my stomach hasn't left. The feeling that something is very wrong. Tears burn behind my eyes. The first step was rejection, but it was never complete. Ashton suddenly looks up at me. In order for rejection, or accepting, to work, both mates have to say it. Otherwise, it's not complete. He ends on a whisper. Silence descends as I watch Ashton grapple with something in his mind. I know there's more, but I'm scared to know what it is. There's something big missing. Josh breaks the silence again. Tell her the rest, Ashton. His voice is quiet and cautious. I thought that by pushing you away, by making you dislike me, it would weaken the bond. I rejected you and you dislike me. Maybe that would stop the bond from forming. It didn't work. Ashton explains. By now I feel tears falling down my cheeks. So you thought by bullying me, it would break the bond. It was a question. Ashton's expression is tortured as he watches the tears, but not as tortured as I feel. The rest. Ashton. Josh's voice turned hard. Ashton looks at Josh. Later. Josh. One thing at a time. There isn't any conviction in his voice. Josh suddenly storms in front of me. You tell her everything. Right now. He shouts at Ashton. Or I will. Ashton winces but nods. He stands up and takes a couple steps toward me, but I hold up a hand and stop him from advancing. Don't. Ashton winces at my command. What else is there? He takes a shaky breath and I see the glint of unshed tears. I slept with other girls. After we met. This time it's my turn to wince. A lot of couples cheat. Despite saying that, my heart hurts. Not only that, but a shadow of hurt travels to my abdomen and I'm reminded of the burning pain that plagued me for nights. My arms automatically go around my midriff as if I subconsciously feel the fire is going to return. Ashton notices my arms and winces and, what happened when you cheated? What happened to me? My voice cracks as my vision blurs and tears continue to fall. Please don't cry. Ashton's voice cracks and, when my vision somewhat clears, I see him reaching out to me but he doesn't touch me. Tell me, you felt it. He whispers, because I had rejected you, and you hadn't completed it. The bond had forced you to feel it. I cried out as I remembered the torturing fire that almost killed me. That was every time he had wanted to push me away with sex. Every night I had wanted to scream. He was making someone else scream. Did you know? Somehow the words were comprehensible. Yes, Ashton whispers. I stumbled back a couple of steps, and before I could fall, Ashton's arms wrap around me and embrace. Get off me. I scream, a sort of hysteria taking over my voice. Tears stream down my face and sobs hiccup out of my mouth. Ashton listens to my command and takes a step back, his breath hitching in his throat. Josh comes and takes his place, but I push him away too. Did you know what was happening? I turn on Josh. He looks down in shame, and I have my answer. How could you? Evie, Ashton pleads. I need you. Do you know what you are doing to me? I interrupt him harshly. Do you know how many nights I was in fiery pain? How many nights I wanted to scream out, but I couldn't because I didn't know what was going on with me? Do you know that I was hospitalized and had to lie to my parents over and over? My voice was clearing up despite no stop in the flow of tears. They didn't say anything, and for a couple of seconds, and the only sound was my heavy breathing. An idea forms in my head, and I can't help but give a sad laugh at the irony of it. Damn you, Ashton. I say quietly but loud enough for both of them to hear me clearly. Ashton winces, and I still see the glint of unshed tears. Please, Evie. He begs. Tell me you don't mean that. I would be lying. My heart cries out, but I seal it. You deserve much worse. Ashton only nods. I continue. So that's why I'm getting out. Ashton tenses, and his mind must have connected what I'm about to say because he steps toward me and reaches out. No. Evie, please don't. I, Evangeline Cross, reject you as my... I turn around and walk out Ashton's life. Epilogue. It was so awesome for your parents to let you move back here for the end of high school. It's so much easier now that we're going to college. Kristen says as she unpacks her boxes for our apartment. I think you said that before. I trail off knowing Shess said that before. She smiles. I know. I return her smile and turn back to my boxes. Opening the next one. I pause and look at the pictures that were some of the last things I packed to move away from Kristen so long ago. My eyes fill with tears as I look at our younger selves and the picture on top. We're both laughing because Kristen had just sprayed whipped cream all over me. I of course retaliated, and my parents had found us with whipped cream all over our kitchen. What did you find? Kristen comes up behind me and laughs once she sees the picture. Oh my God, I remember that. She takes out another picture of us, but this time we're singing karaoke. I laugh. Remember this. My parents thought someone's cat was dying. Kristen joins my laughter. We weren't serious. I can sing much better than that. Sure you can. Ice cough. We both put down the pictures and pull out a few more. I grab a handful of some that aren't in frames yet. I start to flip through them and find that these were the ones from right before I left. Near the end of the pack. I'm surprised to see just a few pictures of people I met in Lupus Harbor. Who's that? Kristen asks as she looks over my shoulder. That's Catherine. She's a lot like you. You would have liked her. I say as I look at the picture of us at school. I'm surprised that someone got a picture of us. But remember that Catherine was in a photography class during my time there. I flip to the next picture and freeze. Josh's green eyes stare back at me. And who's that? Kristen asks quietly, probably noticing my uncomfortableness. Josh. I respond. This must be another one of Catherine's pictures. I don't know how they got in here, but my best guess would be my parents. Cautiously, I flip to the last picture I'm holding. I already know who it must be of, but I go to it anyway. Blue eyes. Dark. Brown hair. Sexy smile. Traitor. Liar. If I had a guess. Ashton. Kristen says softly, knowing my feelings toward this particular person. I had spent about a month once I returned in a depressed state. Not crying. Not talking, and really not feeling. The first month was hard being away from him, though now that I know what the bond is, I understood why. I just hoped this time it would actually stop working. Maybe then I could get a full night's sleep. Yeah, I whisper. Oof, how dare he cheat on you? That no good dirty asshole. Kristen mutters some other obscenities. He didn't deserve you. I laugh as a couple tears fall from my eyes. Tell me about it. Sweetie. Kristen's voice turns soft as she hugs me. It's okay to be upset over this. I haven't seen you cry over this. Not that you should because he doesn't deserve your tears, but it would help you get that emotion out in a healthy way. I didn't bother telling her that I had already cried enough, and that crying was what convinced my parents to let me move back to California about a week after that day. Only anger remained. And betrayal. I only feel regret for falling for everything he said. I keep my voice hard, but my heart clenches at any thought of him. Somewhere deep inside, I know I still yearn for him. I just have to learn to ignore that and move on. HES in the past, sweetie. You will move on and find someone worth your time and heart. Kristen comforts me in a soft, reassuring voice. Thanks, Kristen. I whisper and quickly wipe my eyes before she sees that more tears had formed. I know that there won't ever be someone else who will get my heart. All right? Enough crying. Kristen's voice turns cheerful. I think we deserve a break. We should go out and see the town. This is college after all. I smile at her. Always the optimist. All right. I'm up for that. Good, because I was taking no for an answer. Kristen says as she hooks her arm into mine and starts heading towards the door. We head out of our apartment and start walking down the street towards where the center of town is. A family-owned coffee shop appears on our left, and we decide to see if it's any good. Walking in, Kristen immediately starts gushing. Look at the super hot cashier. She hits my arm a couple times before I can move it away. Oh, Kristen. You know it kind of hurts a bit when you slap me, even if it's just on the arm. I complain. Stop complaining and look at him. Kristen continues to gush but suddenly gasps. I have an idea. Before I can stop her, Kristen is already up at the counter talking to the cashier. I rush up there before my friend can make a fool of herself for me. And here's my number. Kristen's smile is huge as she blocks me from watching her write down the number. The cashier looks pleased as he watches Kristen write down the number before glancing at me. Hey, he holds out his hand. I'm Alex. I accept his handshake. Evie. Nice to meet you, Evie. Alex says as we shake hands. Hope to see you around. The handshake ends and Kristen loops her arm in mine. Yeah. Kristen turns us around and we start heading out of the coffee shop. Wait. We didn't even get any coffee. I protest. Kristen smiles. That's okay. I didn't really want any. What if I did? I complain. But I didn't really want any either. Kristen just looks at me with a smile as we walk through the door and back onto the streets. My phone buzzes and I look down to read the text. My mouth pops open and I stop walking, pulling Kristen to the side. Kristen. I yell at her, causing a couple people to glance at us. I hold my phone in her face so she can see the "Hey, it's Alex" text message I just got. She laughs. Well, I didn't give him my phone number. I can't believe you. I stick out my tongue at her. She sighs and becomes serious. I want you to get over him. What better way than this? Kristen, I say softly. I don't need anyone right now. Maybe some other time. I trail off. Kristen narrows her eyes in suspicion before her shoulders droop a bit. All right, Evie, but I'll hold you up to that. I give her a small smile and we continue on our way. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.